Canberra Metalheads.
The Archives.
Me and Mews Season 2. Alright, let's kick it.
Hello and welcome to the interview section of Canberra Metalheads. You got Marky Malphas and
JDecay.
Joined here for a atmospheric basement episode with the guys from Auld. So from left to right we've got
Aaron, drums.
And Daniel. I play guitar and I stand out the front and shout.
Yep. You've also got like another instrument as well that you play in the band aside from guitar. What else you got?
Yeah, so I actually play a low D Irish whistle. So, and we want to incorporate a couple of other folk instruments as we go, but that's what we're sticking with for the moment.
I think you're the first non-string or percussion instrument to be on the show so far. So
Lucky me.
That's pretty cool, man. To coin that, we've had you on the show before as part of Black Mountain.
Yep, this is my third time on the show, I think.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And we spoke about obviously Black Mountain stuff as well, but and including
we talked a bit about Auld on the last show
early
as
days
well,
of Auld. So now it's come into come into light, and all the awesome stuff that you guys are doing with Auld. So, and I've seen Aaron in bands before with Tranquil Deception in the early days.
Been around for years.
Yep. And now it's good to see you back behind the kit, man.
Feels great.
How long's it been, dude?
Up until the last show recently with Christ Dismembered, it was probably about 5 years since I was last on the stage.
Yep.
And that was with Clara Dash.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. With Clara Dash as well. So I've had the guys from Clara Dash. So you're in the first album for Clara Dash.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Clara Dash was actually where Aaron and I first collaborated. So, because I played guitar in Clara Dash for a while, and that's actually how we started. Started Auld up was chatting at Clara Dash practices and stuff. So.
Yeah, it's cool like that projects like that can bring people closer together with like, playing on similar bills and things like that. Yeah. So I've seen you guys in the scene for a while, and like including I think we spoke earlier on the previous show about your role in Chud as well back
Devil's Work actually.
Devil's Work, sorry, back in the early days. So it's cool to see you guys form the band. And so aside from you two guys, who else is in the band?
So we've got on guitar Joshua Smith-Roberts, who I play with in Black Mountain, and Craig Novak on the bass, and he used to play in Dark Nemesis, so you might have seen him around in that band. Yep. Oh, that was a little while ago, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, it's like I said, plenty of background there on the band. I know that. I think I remember one of the early days of me being in the Canberra metal scene. I remember Aaron playing in Tranquil Deception, and before you know it, he's showing me a whole bunch of cool new bands and stuff like that. Things I probably would have never come across before, like in the same scene as you guys are at the moment with like some of the more folk style bands. So that's really, really cool that you kind of got that introduction. And now that you guys are putting it on stage, you had the first show with a Christ Dismembered gig.
Yeah, so Christ Dismembered from Mount Gambier, I believe, South Australia, came up, and they brought with them Fatigue from Sydney and Rise of Avernus as well, and it was an absolute cracker of a show. So,
yep. Yeah, I managed to interview the guys from Christ Dismembered.
That night.
That night, yeah.
It was a really good first show. Like, we all had a great time, and the feedback we got was all good, so we were really happy with it.
Perfect, man.
It was a good tour.
Yeah, man, it went right round because I think you played with them.
Yeah, we hit up with Rise and Christ the night after.
It's
awesome.
At the was that at the
Factory Theatre?
Factory Theatre, cool. And with the boys were staying at your place that night.
Yeah, they did. They actually crashed at my house. Yeah.
Cool, man. What a host. Play support and hang out at their place after.
You can't see the shrug that I just did on the radio. I just realised after having done it.
There is no scene if you don't support the scene.
Yeah, exactly, I think that's one of the things that we all feel definitely in the Auld camp and in the Black Mountain camp. It's pretty similar. Whereas, we take every avenue we can to support stuff. Like, we often lend cabs and stuff when other bands play because, most we can do to support the scene is what we want to do. So
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like we have with the South Coast Metalheads, there's gigs going on down the coast, and I know whenever Black Mountain's on it, they're more than willing to help out with supplying, stuff for backline and things like that. So that's cool. It's good to have that support in the scene. And get things done that way. So you had that first. Oh, and by the way, Christ dismembered. Extending the merch range there they have their own Worcestershire sauce.
it's so good.
It's so good.
I remember because we played with Black Mountain. We supported them the time they came here before that last gig, and I saw they had the sauce, and I was like, I want to get that sauce. But I had to leave early because of a bunch of stuff that happened, and then so when I found out they were coming back, I was like, I'm getting my damn sauce. And I did, and it was worth it.
Yeah, man. No, it's apparently one of the members' mum makes it or something like that. It's like legitimately made by them as well.
I reckon it's probably one of the first gigs in Canberra where a band got essentially paid in sauce. So.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyway, so that was your first gig. It was really well received. I took some video and seen some video from that night, and yeah. I even got some comments back on the video I shared on our page of you guys saying like that it was cool. So that's really rad, man, and everyone's sort of getting into it. It's also, you guys are playing something that's like a little bit not as common in the scene at the moment. Like, I don't know of any other sort of like staple folk metal bands in Canberra.
Not in Canberra. There's a couple from around the place, like Valhalla and Valhalla play with. They've got people who play whistle and stuff like that. Who was it? One of the bands that supported Primordial had a whistle. I can't remember who it was though.
Yeah, that was a long time ago now.
But yeah, there's a few bands around, but none really in this region. I think Melbourne has a little bit as well, that sort of atmospheric stuff with some folky influences. But yeah.
Well, I guess that's some avenues that you guys might end up going down, like maybe some Melbourne gigs and things like that down the track, perhaps.
That's the idea, yeah.
I see that a lot of it kind of comes in with that kind of pirate metal vibe, the more drinking music kind of bands versus the actual traditional kind of dudes like these guys trying to bring that in.
Yeah.
Well, both of us are pretty keen folk music fans, and like, I've got a couple of Celtic folk music albums from the 60s that get pretty heavy rotation in my listening, so I know it's definitely a real big influence for me personally.
I'm even teaching the kids how to play tin whistle.
Yeah. That's good, man. Keep the younger generation like arising with the metal. Well, man, like, to be honest, that goes back to when I was a kid and you showed me stuff here when I first moved to Canberra. So, like, I mean, it's all constantly evolving, and then, I've shown that stuff to other people, and, like, it all fully goes around. You, so you mentioned before, like, things like going to Melbourne and stuff like that, there's, like, always opportunities. In previous projects, have you guys ever done any travelling for gigs outside of Canberra?
Certainly lots with Claret Ash. Even when Dan was with us, I think
we went down to Melbourne and we went to Newcastle and stuff.
Yeah,
just before I joined Claret Ash, you guys actually went to Japan.
Yeah, so I was at Claret Ash when we played Japan. About 5 shows there with Septic Flesh.
Yep.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Huge different cultural change. Show crowds in Japan.
There's a bunch of places I'd like to travel to with bands, but unfortunately it's one of those things that's much easier said than done.
Yeah.
I don't know why, just in the last week or so I've decided I want to play shows in New Zealand. I don't know what it is.
Dude, I could dig your vibe, like the old vibe going down in New Zealand, I reckon. Like, just some of the bands I've seen come through there.
Yeah, man. I've got a good friend there who's a good promoter. Val. Shout outs to Val. Yeah. Anytime you guys want to go to New Zealand, hit us up.
Yeah. We actually in our gig guide do like the international gig guide, and there's like a lot of touring bands do the Auckland, Wellington as part of the whole tour. So it's like, as far as a tourist perspective goes, most of the time it's pretty much incorporated as part of national touring now, as New Zealand being part of Australia.
I've been there a couple of times just sort of being there, and it's a great country. And like, what with Alien Weaponry being the obvious example.
Exactly,
They've got some great stuff coming out these days. And
I interviewed those guys from Alien Weaponry, and they're like from nearly the most northern point of the North Island. Like, it's just
remote wilderness.
There's a bunch of rad bands from there, like 8 Foot Sativa and Defilement, and a whole bunch of like crusty black metal bands that I could mention. But it's got a great scene. It's almost as cheap as to fly from here to WA.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like, I think New Zealand is $150 or $200 return in it, and it's like $750 to go to WA.
Well, I think we'll probably wait until we've got a little bit more of a release, sort of
a little bit more in the terms of the way of stuff to flog. Before we make any big plans like that.
So speaking of stuff to flog, what have you guys been working on?
So we've got an EP in the works now, pretty much mostly recorded, almost entirely done. First track off it is completely done, and I believe we're getting a bit of a preview of it this evening.
Exactly.
Ooh, exclusive.
So this is an exclusive. Actually, it won't be released on any other mediums for another couple of weeks yet. So Metalheads exclusive.
Don't tell anyone.
So you've got working on an EP, and you've got one track recorded, which you'll release as a single.
Yep. We got a video lined up for it. We got some other cool stuff coming out.
Perfect, man. So what's the name of that track?
That track is Hollow Mews. Now it's MEWS.
Yep.
Referring to a coach house built into the underside of a house, not cat noises. Let's just clear that up right at the start, because I've had a few questions about that, and it's really shitting me.
No, we'll definitely make sure it's clear by the end. So you've got the look. That's the thing. Like even changing the like pronunciation of something or the spelling of something, like you'll notice with a lot of like the more like Celtic words and things like that that you guys obviously working with, like the band name, it just has a different aesthetic to it just by using the original spelling or like things like that. So
Gaelic is a beautiful language, and it's amazing when you go up to the north of Scotland. There's all the street signs, all the signs everywhere have both English and Gaelic. And when I went up there, we didn't get that far north. We went up to about Invercargill, but I was pretty taken with the words, I guess.
Yep.
I've had a bit of a look at actually properly learning it, but there's not much in the way of teaching here.
Not as much for Scots Gaelic, but there's a lot of Irish support with the Irish Club and the like. But it's always interesting when people ask about it. They see Auld and they think it's different, it's weird. What does it mean? It means Auld.
In terms of pronunciation and spelling and stuff, we don't like to try and make it too easy. One of our other songs is called Am Farleth Moor, which roughly translates to Big Grey Man, and it's the name of a ghost that haunts a mountain in Scotland. But it's all very spooky, but people look at the words and they're like, what the fuck is that?
Is that some influence within the band to have that steer on words? Like, Aaron, do you have any like sort of influence over the track names and things like that?
Well, I wrote most of the lyrics for Hollow Mews as well, so it's a very collaborative effort between the whole band. Josh writes a lot of guitar as well. Craig, it's only been relatively new, but he's actually picked up a lot of the licks pretty quickly and is contributing to the band quite heavily as well. So it's not a
solo project.
Yeah.
By any means, but
it's very good that we're all collaborative, and that I've also incorporated some stuff that I've written on guitar into one of the new tracks as well.
Oh, cool.
And in terms of lyric credits, like in Am Farleth Moor, there's actually a whole chunk which is taken from a Samuel Taylor Coleridge poem. So we wear our influences on our sleeve, but a lot of those influences are sort of folklore and poetry related rather than just necessarily bands. So
excellent. That's good, man. It's good to know a little bit more about behind the scenes, because a lot of the time when you get like sort of track names or lyric content, you kind of like you wonder where you get the influence from.
Especially in black metal, where half the time you have no idea what the fuck they're saying.
I do like before when we were saying about folk metal and like other bands that could go with you guys, but I can see you guys being on a black metal bill as well, like in that sort of sense?
I would say primarily our bass is more of like a progressive black metal with folky and melodic elements to it.
Yep.
Rather than what tends to be more popular in the folk metal scene at the moment, which is a lot more lighthearted and jovial, I guess. We've got a bit more of a doom sort of aspect.
Our influences definitely lie closer to bands like Agalloch and Gallowbraid and Primordial, who fit closer to the black metal scene than they do to bands like Eluveitie or Moonsorrow or whatever, who are more traditional folk metal bands. Although we do love those bands, they just, I think, are probably less influential in our playing.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's right. So that's sort of like, I know that, like, Aaron, you've got some, like, influence from black metal and also some of the folk metal stuff. What sort of bands do you sort of draw influence from, if you could choose, like, 3 or 4?
I would say Primordial, Druk, and Arcana.
Yeah, rad. Obviously, is like you said before, you've got one track which we'll play at the end of the show.
Yep.
But perhaps I'll scroll through some of those guys and choose some tracks for earlier on in the show to give everyone a taste of the vibe of the show. Yeah. Cool.
I think anything off Autumn Aurora or Blood in Our Wells by Drew could really suit our vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. No, like I said before, really well received at the first show there, and you've got so you mentioned before you've got the more than just string instruments and the drums. You've also got some wind instruments as well, or instrument as well.
Yeah.
Is that something that you practice more for this, or something that you'd always known how to play before?
Well, I started playing whistle a few years back with a Celtic folk group attached to the pipe band that I play in. I play snare drum in a pipes and drums band.
Yep.
And there's a group of guys there who play small pipes, Irish uilleann pipes, whatever else. And I started playing whistle to jam along with them. So it started very definitely in a folk context rather than in a metal one or anything like that. And then it's only since we've started Auld in the few years since then that I've started integrating it into this idiom.
That's cool. That's really rad, man. Like I said, first wind instrument to be on the show.
Well, there's a bunch of other stuff we'd like to incorporate. Like I know a bunch of people who play bagpipes, like various different types of bagpipes.
Yeah.
And
I could see that.
Other string instruments and whatever else. I really want to get Aaron playing his Balron drum, which is an Irish percussion instrument. I want to get that in there somewhere. Like we've talked a lot about this, and it's definitely the direction we want to move in.
That's right.
Perfect. Aaron, as far as like playing in a band with more than just like string instruments, does it change anything on the drums when he's playing different instruments up the front?
Not as much, because I do prefer to play a lot more, I guess, melodic and a lot more collaboratively with a lot of the bands compared to some of the other bands that I've played in previously, where it was a lot about being fast and loud. Now I'm just toning it back a little bit more to try and elevate the other musicians rather than stealing the show.
Yeah, cool. I've definitely seen some of the slow and fast of the previous bands, so like I said, it's good to see you back out and behind the kit again.
Tranquil Deception was way too fast.
I said fast and slow. It's up to the viewer.
Not making fun of you, Marky. I'm just being stupid.
It's up to the it's up to the listeners to decide which one I was talking about when I said Tranquil Deception. I remember like the first time I seen it was actually very first time I ever seen Tranquil Deception. There was no singer. It was just an instrument.
Yeah, that's right. 3-piece instrumental to start with, and then we got then we got a bass player.
Yep.
And vocals.
Yep.
Originally it was just 2 guitars, but the guitars were tuned down to E standard, so may as well have been playing bass.
Who'd tune down that low?
As
definitely not me.
As far as tech goes, what sort of like lineup are we looking at? Aaron, what sort of drums do you use, or like brands do you usually go for?
The kit I've got at the moment is Mapex. Had that for at least 15 years now.
Yeah.
Which is, I think certainly a bit of an upgrade from the previous kits that I've had, which was a lot of second-hand pieces all patched together. So I was very happy when I got the Mapex, and it survived me well.
Was it the one that went down to Melbourne, or did you use a backline when you went down there?
When we've travelled, we've always collaborated with the local bands, and they've been able to provide us support. We just take the minimum, so I'll take my cymbals, snare, pedals, and the like. Usually able to borrow a lot when travelling, because they're trying to travel that far with the whole band and a whole kit. Just gets a little bit difficult.
A little bit much.
You should have seen the Christ Dismembered guys getting out of the car when they arrived at my house at 2 a.m. the night before that gig.
Just fell out.
Yeah, well, they couldn't. The two guys sitting in the back couldn't see each other because they were in this little sedan with all their gear. Unbelievable.
Yeah, man. Well, I've had a little bit of a taste of what it's like with that when I went up with Jay to Sydney for that El Nafrak gig. Like, I have a newfound appreciation for his gear after having to help him carry just the head up to the stage.
That's why we'll always happily loan equipment when other bands are touring.
I'm glad he's. I'm glad that it wasn't any longer than it could have been. It was still a decent haul, but I feel like if it had been another 20 meters, I'm not sure if I would have made
that
it.
head rack case is exceptional though, man. That's it's like 105 kilos or something like that.
Just wear on both bands.
It's stupid. I really need to downsize.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, man. But yeah, it just didn't make sense because of the size of the box, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how can there be that much matter in this space?
It's a quantum amp, and it actually contains matter from all known universes inside one box.
Oh man, I wondered how Jay got that guitar sound.
Best tone ever.
There's a reason it's so heavy.
Oh man. We mentioned before that you had the EP recording. You've got an album, single coming out exclusively to us. I did notice that, speaking of South Coast Metalheads, before, you guys have got a gig coming up down there already announced.
We do. We're playing at Heathen Fest.
Very excited
down
about
June. Yeah, it's a cracker of a lineup. Absolutely. Like, I was lucky enough to play with Destroyer 666 with Black Mountain a few years ago, and now supporting Hobbs Angel of Death.
Yep.
That's like really the two big influential Australian death metal bands of that era, you know. It's unbelievable.
No, it's amazing that those guys came through. I know in the early days of Lukey and Barnesy planning that, it was like one of those, it's like Luke said in a previous interview, sometimes you send away like your hopeful lineup, and when they actually get back to you, it's like, well, this is going to happen. So yeah, that's really cool. I was really glad to see you guys in on that one as well.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an unbelievable night of black metal, I think.
Yep. The sprinkling of death metal in there.
Just a tiny touch.
Yeah, just Cucklord.
Yeah. Or just
pretty sure everyone else is a black metal band.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's like, what? Porn Grind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one guy. I forgot about him.
Yeah, the one-man band, dude. Interviewed him before.
He's rad.
Yeah, raddest dude.
Aiden, yeah.
The only dude I've ever met.
He's pretty hilarious, man.
Oh man, only
like last time he like shut out all the blinds and like turned the light off and like made his bedroll into the thing, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, don't go in his room." It's pretty funny.
Oh man, like the only dude I've ever met crazy enough to stretch his septum piercing.
Oh. That makes me very uncomfortable. Speaking of black metal and Heathen Fest, I believe there is a certain black metal band coming out of quasi-retirement, playing their first gig in 6 years.
Yeah.
I wonder who that might be.
Yeah, we're coming back for that one. Thanks, Dan. Legend. But yeah, Unholy Vendetta.
Yep.
First show back in 6 or 7 years.
That's already got some hype as it is. People excited to see that.
Yeah. I've heard a few things.
Yep.
Got some surprises, but yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Perfect, man. It'd be
Plus
rad.
Somnium coming off the back of Obscura is gonna be sick.
That's right, exactly.
Who else is on that? Is it
Black Mountain?
Yeah, Black Mountain. Well, you guys, I hear Black Mountain might have their CD by then.
Oh, maybe.
Man,
Let's start some rumors.
Yeah. Start some rumors.
The merch booth at that gig's going to be pretty insane. Like it'll be
so many bands, so much merch. What's going to happen?
And I'll need something from everybody, I think. Yeah.
In that case, we'll have to get something more expensive than stickers.
Stickers are pretty good. Or we'll just stick the stickers on the magnets. There you go.
Yeah, sure, man.
I've got a good tip for you for getting some t-shirts quick.
Yeah.
I'll let you know after the podcast.
Perfect, man.
But yeah, I think we've got a new Wagner design coming on Holy Vendetta for that tour. Should be pretty fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, catharsis. So, when are you guys dropping the video clip?
14th of April, we're going to be dropping it. We're going,
Do you know what platform you're doing that on?
Well, we're going to be putting it up on Facebook. Like I said, we've got a video. The very talented Moonroot Art, who drew our logo and also the heron design you might have seen on Facebook, has actually filmed us up a quick video for our single for that. We're all very excited to get that out there because it's rad, if I say so myself. But we're going to be doing a couple of other sort of integrated release stuff, so pushing it out on Spotify and what have you. So.
Perfect. What sort of whereabouts did you film a video clip? Can you tell us that?
He did. The artist did. It's like it's sort of a time lapse video of him drawing the art. So
yeah, cool.
It's the same art we have on our stickers and that, and when we get t-shirts printed up, we'll have design on there as well. So
that's rad, man. It's good that like he had the foresight to like film that and like keep that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first saw the art, I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!"
Yeah.
So the creation process is really cool to watch too.
Yeah, that's good, man. It's good to hear that artists like sort of support in that way as well.
Well, he's done heaps of black metal bands. Like, if you go to his Facebook page, which is Moonroot Art, he has bands from all over the place get logos and art done from him. And the first time I saw his painting, I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's amazing. He was recommended to me by the guys at Beast Impaler because he did their logo as well.
Oh right, so cool.
Highly recommend
who are also
any
on
bands who are
Heathen
listening.
Beast Impaler on Heathen Fest, by the way, just another drop there. But yeah, no, that's really cool, man. It's good to like get established early of what you've done, and then also have like a bunch of cool art and things to back it up as well. But speaking of backing up with good stuff, we've got the single that's going to be aired exclusively on Canberra Metalheads. So you mentioned before that this is the first track that's been completely recorded from the EP.
Yep.
Is this one here? Is there anything sort of unique or anything that you wanted to talk about this track?
Well, it's a track that we've been working on since Dan and I were in Claridash. It's been a labour of love for many a year, but it's really only come to full completion once we finally finalised the lineup. We're talking about how we were able to work so collaboratively together that really fell into place once we actually got everyone working on it together.
Yep.
And because a lot of the the old riffs and stuff like that, we sort of jammed out when it was just Aaron and myself. And so the first riff in this, which is real punchy, real big sound, was actually Josh's first contribution, and Aaron wrote a lot of the lyrics and all this other stuff. So in a lot of ways, it's our most collaborative effort thus far, and so I think it's really important that that's our first release, and a bit like our mission statement.
Yep.
So it doesn't incorporate the folk instruments so much, but hopefully we'll get that other stuff out soon.
So I guess we play the song.
Yeah. So this is the new track by Auld. To keep an eye out in the next few weeks when it gets dropped everywhere else, but right now Canberra Metalheads is getting the exclusive, so I'll get you guys to introduce the track. This is Auld with
Hollow Mews.
Here on Canberra Metalheads.
Skate.
Well, I should have had a drink before I did that.
Bam!